The opening scene begins in a room where light barely reaches the floor, where a single figure moves through tasks that no one applauds. The work is ordinary, the hours unglamorous, the repetition brutal. That environment sharpens a certain kind of clarity that cannot be taught in classrooms or sold in seminars. Mistakes arrive like weather, relentless and unbiased, and each mistake becomes data rather than an excuse. The choice in those nights is always raw and singular: continue the quiet labor that builds momentum, or surrender to the comfortable noise that steals days. A private code forms, a set of small obligations carried like iron keys. Each obligation turns into ritual. Each ritual turns into muscle memory. While distractions shout for attention, the slow builder learns the secret of accumulation. Achievement does not explode into being. It condenses from countless steady breaths taken under pressure. The body learns cadence, the mind learns patience, and the life that emerges is not accidental. It is crafted in silence, layered through repetition, defended by discipline. The crowd will watch only the final frame, never the centuries of quiet that produced it. The victory that matters is the one earned through unglamorous hours, not the applause that follows a momentary reveal. A man who has been measured by scarcity of praise discovers the economy of effort. Each hour invested becomes a ledger entry that compounds into leverage. The practical truth is simple and unavoidable. Talent without banked effort becomes anecdote. Preparation that lives only in thought becomes theater. The person who collects small victories daily builds a vault of confidence that no external force can confiscate. Confidence earned through ritual looks like calm certainty rather than bravado. That calm becomes a presence that alters rooms, that changes tones in conversation, that reframes negotiations. People respond differently to composure because composure carries credibility. The individual who has rehearsed resilience in solitude holds leverage against chaos. Crisis arrives less often as enemy and more often as instrument, because hazard furnishes the very tests that strengthen capacity. The aim is not to silence opponents by force. The aim is to let performance answer every insult and every doubt, to allow momentum to speak so loudly that argument becomes irrelevant. The result is an influence that sustains beyond one moment, an influence that converts obstacles into chapters rather than endings. That kind of mastery cannot be borrowed. It must be earned through deliberate, repeated action until discipline becomes identity. The path of craft demands austerity. Pleasure is not forbidden, but it never presides over strategy. This is not an appeal to asceticism for its own sake. It is a practical account of trade-offs. Every indulgence purchased now drains capital from the future. Each delayed restraint invests in later options. The founder of destiny understands that pleasure unmoored from purpose dissolves the very will needed to reach high ground. The disciplined life economizes desire. It postpones gratification until infrastructure exists to carry joy without jeopardy. This posture fosters a kind of irony. The person who denies passing comforts in order to build capacity later ends up enjoying deeper, more durable abundance. That abundance is not a fleeting thrill. It is the kind of steady sovereignty that buys time, choices, and autonomy. The world respects sovereignty. The world rarely respects empty boasts. Thus, the life spent economizing pleasure becomes a demonstration of authority that cannot be bought in a day. What looks like austerity in one season becomes freedom in another, because restraint creates the conditions where long-term options flourish. That pattern is the truest form of leverage. The daily regimen transforms doubt into method. Every routine performed consciously reduces cognitive load, which reserves higher faculties for strategic moves. The person who disciplines habits constructs mental architecture that supports high performance under fatigue. This architecture functions like a bridge built across turbulent water. It allows steady transit while torrents attempt to erode the banks. Crisis tests the bridge, but a well-built bridge endures and even reveals its strength under pressure. The work that forges such infrastructure is invisible to spectators. It feels mundane and repetitive to many, but that exact repetition is the only way to prime reflexes and cultivate muscle memory of judgment. Those reflexes manifest later as a cold ability to choose the correct move while chaos presses. It is a terrifying advantage. Opponents who rely on heat-of-the-moment decisions collapse when faced against a presence that remains steady. Calm competence wins arenas where frenzy loses ground. Thus, the investment in daily ritual yields a quiet domination that no pang of haste can overturn. Discipline converts criticism into fuel rather than poison. The mind trained in routine learns to treat outside noise as irrelevant metadata. That noise can be analyzed for useful pattern, or it can be ignored for the sake of motion. The one who chooses motion refuses to let the chatter of opinion alter the trajectory set by craft. This refusal requires a backbone composed of accumulated proof of capability. Proof only appears through results, not promise. Thus a cycle emerges: perform, measure, refine, perform again. Each iteration enhances execution and reduces the margin for error. Over time, the margin of error collapses because practice carves judgment into shape. The person who endures this loop forms an almost mechanical advantage. Under pressure, when clarity is most needed, response becomes automatic and precise. Natural fear still exists, but it is subordinated to evidence in the marrow. That is the engine of transformation. Criticism then becomes a fossil of past resistance rather than a continuing impediment. Strategy demands patience longer than desire expects it. Building an enduring structure of influence requires chronological patience, the kind that outlasts appetite for immediate returns. The hunger to prove value through quick results sabotages building capacity that scales. The individual committed to longevity learns to defer gratification in order to architect systems, teams, and leverage that persist. Short-term wins can appear flattering, but they often carry hidden depths of time and attention that compound into vulnerability. True sustainability arises when moves are chosen for return on attention years down the line rather than likes or applause tomorrow. That capacity to think through time separates the ephemeral from the permanent. The one who structures decisions across decades rather than days becomes a kind of temporal architect, shaping outcomes through foresight and endurance. That is how empires of impact arise. The world mistakes immediacy for potency. Yet the deeper truth is that patience anchored to strategy is the currency that purchases influence that lasts.